Look at this. I got headphones on. I got a mic going. Baby.
If
Huh?
only people could see you now.
Hey, no video. We've gone through this before.
All right,
No
all right,
video.
all right. Welcome to This Commerce Life. This is a podcast aimed at small, medium entrepreneurs focused on commerce. I'm Phil, your host, and Kenny, your co-host, will join us as well. And we're going to talk to you about the world of retail and commerce and how things are changing in the world.
Oh, like $1 million.
Yeah?
Oh my God. Like not even night and day. Like I feel like, yeah, I mean, that was ugly. That really was, that scared me. I mean, I know I don't know. That was just not fun. That was not fun. But when Friday or Saturday I started like feeling like I was finally turning the corner, like, and then, yeah, I mean, I've worked a full day the last 3 days. I'm exhausted. Like, I don't think it's, I'm obviously done.
Yeah.
But I think there's going to be some lingering, lingering effects. But you know what I did? I got myself down for the, I'm on the wait list anyway. I don't know what that means exactly, but on the wait list at Costco for the vaccine, because in BC, they've opened it up to 55 plus.
Oh, really? Already?
So what the hell, right?
Yeah.
If I can get it now, like, honestly, I think because I've just finished with the freaking disease, is that I think I may only have to do the one shot. I think it's like a booster, because I've already got I would assume I've got the antibodies in a sense, because I've had the flu.
Yeah.
I've had COVID.
I think it protects you from the variants too.
Exactly. Right? So that's what I really want to get on this damn list and get this, and I don't give a shit. AstraZeneca, seriously, it's 1 in 100,000 at best for the issue. But there's an issue.
But the truth is that it's more like AstraZeneca has screwed up their PR more than like it's not actually a bad vaccine. It's actually a good vaccine.
It's a good vaccine.
The marketing and the PR for it, right?
Exactly. Yeah, but you know what people are like. You're scared, right?
Yeah. You read one bad thing and
Well, what else are you going to do today? No. It's just how the whole world works. I mean, we worry about everything. But no, I feel
right. So yeah.
Nope. Yeah. If I can get in, baby, put it in. Yeah. Light this puppy up.
I know, right? I know.
I just want to call it a day.
Man.
How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm just working away. Like there's actually, it's me, right? I'm like the worst boss in the whole wide world. I just can't sit still. So I got stuff and more stuff going on, and then there's more stuff going on, and I don't say no. I just like, sure. And then later on, I'm like, you're an idiot.
Should have said no.
Like,
should have said no.
I actually have said no. So I've had a couple who have come through here that I just went, look, it's really interesting, but you're more work than I can afford right now. Like I just can't, so I've passed off a few things there, particularly things that are more like SEO intensive that I'm.
You've always said you're not that massively interested in doing it though either, right?
No.
It's just not what you want to do.
Yeah.
Well, you refused one or helped me refuse one the other day. It was in an email and I thought, well, I don't even know what it is. Like, why am I already saying no to? I don't what do they need? Maybe I didn't want to say no. And I thought, well, I probably did. I just don't know it yet. But I wasn't even too sure what the hell the question was.
Yeah.
Why is Phil saying no for me?
Hang on one second. Andrew's in the room. I'm going to let him in.
Okay.
Hey guys, how are you?
How are you?
Good. Sorry, I'm running a few minutes behind.
Oh, that's okay.
Don't worry about it. We weren't going anywhere.
Yeah.
we just sit and talk to each other. Otherwise, it doesn't matter. We don't need anybody on. We could just yap for a couple hours, and it's not. It's all good.
That's awesome.
Yeah, this is how this podcast started. We started talking to each other and thought, hey, it's kind of fun to talk to each other, and started recording it, right? So now we get guests on, and it's like an extra bonus. So
I think that's just a bonus for the listeners, because otherwise they just listen to me and you, and who the hell wants to do that often?
Yeah.
Right. That's a drag. I wouldn't want to listen to us.
Man.
Who would do that?
It's nice to meet you. I have heard about you from Kent.
Oh yeah, likewise. I've also heard about you from Kent. So it's great to to connect.
We're sorry, whatever you've heard from Kent.
Kent exaggerates lots of things. So
That might be good for us though. So
yeah, exactly.
He's an excitable fella for sure.
He's fantastic. He's fantastic. Anytime I'm having a rough day, I'll pick up the phone and talk to Kent, and all of a sudden my day gets better. So
see, that's nice. So that's a nice thing to say about somebody.
Nice. I don't say it about many people.
There's not many people you probably can say it about. That's why.
Right. Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
You know, one thing about Kent you got to watch though is Kent is full of ideas, right? And so if you're on for too long, that by the time you're done the call, you've started two or three new ventures, right? And it's like, well, wait. I didn't plan on any of these things. Like, I just called to see how you're doing, man. Like, what's
Yeah. Well, look, this is the reason why we get along is like, I love brainstorming. And so we end up feeding off each other and riffing off each other. And I apologize to Kent's wife and kids who he often just like ignores when I give him a call. And it's like, we end up talking for hours, but no, it's fun, man. It's great.
That's all good, man. That's all good.
It's amazing.
That's all good.
You and I also, I didn't realize this, but you and I share a tiny bit of history. I did a small stint at NIMI.
Oh, no way.
So yeah, probably about a year ago, I was there for 18 months doing their marketing.
Oh, cool. Okay, nice. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah. So very interesting.
Yeah. No, it was an important chapter in my life there, and a lot of learnings, a lot of lessons for sure. So
yeah. And a big deal too, because I think you were there. You're probably responsible for the raise they got, right? Like you got a pretty big raise while you were there.
Yeah. That was what, for better or worse, that became my reputation, was like, hire Andrew and to raise money, and so
money will come.
Yeah, so that was my job. That was the first job. I was like, hey, we have like 6 weeks of runway. Can you go raise us a Series A? And then it was interesting. We ended up we did this sort of shotgun wedding approach of getting on a bunch of planes and pitching a bunch of investors and taking the best terms. And we needed to buy inventory and pay for our supply chain and things. And we brought in an investor who I think was just not quite aligned with the direction of the company, and they wanted to make it much more of an enterprise security company. And so as that opportunity presented itself, they sort of said, hey, we want to take the company in a different direction. And, if we had done a bit more diligence and we'd found alignment earlier and gone through that process a little bit slower, we might have chosen a different investor. But it was also a good learning, opportunity for me, because it was like, well, we're funding, inventory, right, and market, like repeatable growth, and why did we have to give up equity and control to do that? And could there have been a better way to do it? Which is a big part of the motivation for why we started Clearbanc.
Awesome.
Interesting.
We should probably introduce you. We do this a lot. We kind of wander into things and then we don't tell the audience who we're talking to. But
hey, that's fun. That's all good.
We've got Andrew D'Souza on. He's the co-founder and CEO at Clearbanc. You've already heard that we've met Andrew through Kent Fenwick, who's been on the show as well. I don't know, like a million years ago now, I think.
About 2 years at least.
Yeah, easily. But we're excited to have you. What we'd love to do is hear a little bit about you. We want to talk about your new venture as well, and kind of that path you've embarked down. I think it'd be huge for some of the folks that listen to us for sure. But do you mind kind of introducing yourself, telling us a little bit about you?
Sure. Yeah. Where do you want me to start? I mean, like super quick.
Wherever you want.
Wherever you like, man.
Start from the beginning.
Works.
Yeah. My mom was born in Africa. I was born in India. Moved to Toronto via Chicago when I was a kid, and studied engineering. So I'm an engineer from the University of Waterloo. Okay. I spent a couple of years at McKinsey, and then realized that I was never going to be a consultant. It was much more of a builder than I was ever going to be a consultant and an advisor. And I ended up meeting a guy named Chamath, who was head of growth at Facebook at the time. And he convinced me, instead of moving to New York, to move to San Francisco and join a team at Facebook, which I think would have been lucrative. It was pre-IPO Facebook, less than 1,000 people. In hindsight, might have been a lucrative move. But instead, I joined a company he was on the board of. He's like, I'm leaving Facebook. I'm starting a venture fund. I'm on the board of this company. You should join them. And so I chose that route. So optimized for experience versus financial upside. But it was a great experience, right? It was my very first sort of foray into tech and Silicon Valley. I met all these great entrepreneurs. I met Stuart when he was building Tiny Spec before it was Slack, and I met Kevin and Mike when they were building an app called Bourbon that ended up pivoting into being Instagram and got acquired by Facebook. Like, so it was just crazy time. But I think one of the biggest things that I realized was like, there wasn't that big a difference between the founders that I met in Silicon Valley and the people that were, that I went to university with that were starting companies. There was the same level of talent, same level of ambition, same level of work ethic and drive. It was just, they didn't have access to capital. They didn't have access to the same network, sort of the ecosystem, because they were 50 miles around, radius from Palo Alto. And so a big part of my sort of career had been trying to help bridge that gap, and sort of level the playing field for founders that may not have, come from the right circles. But it was a great time to spend in San Francisco. I moved there in 2010. My second weekend there, I was playing soccer and tore my ACL, and I got very, very intimately acquainted with the American healthcare system, which was new to me. And I remember going in and talking to my CEO and being like, "Hey, I'm going to have to go for surgery." It was a 5-person company. I was the only person doing sales. I was like, "Hey, I'm going to have to go in for surgery. I'll be out for a few weeks." He's like, "Well, we have a target to hit in a month before we launch, and you're the only person doing sales. And if you can't do sales, then I'm gonna have to hire somebody who can." I'm like, "Well, I have a $60,000, medical bill that's about to come, and if I can't do this, then so I basically I was like, well, I'll figure out a way to hit it." And just came out of the surgery and just started, didn't take the drugs and just put my foot on an air mattress and pounded the phones. It was a great opportunity. I learned how to cold call. You can learn how many calls you can make in a day if you're really motivated. So that was a fun journey. I should have known at that point that company was not going to go well.
You think?
Sort of
jeez, what kind of animals are these people?
It was terrifying, man. It was
shit.
I was fully thrown to the wolves. But Chamath tried to remove the CEO, and the CEO didn't want to be removed. And anyway, the company ended up imploding. It was a cool experience for me, but and I learned a lot. And it was the reason I was got involved in the startup scene. So, from there, feel free to stop, interrupt.
No, go.
No. This is fascinating.
Tell you the embarrassing stories in my life until you tell me to stop. So I was pretty interested in doing something in education tech. My mom was a teacher. My grandfather was a teacher in Africa. I've always been sort of interested in the impact of technology in the classroom. And I met these guys in Toronto. Actually, they were in Waterloo at the time, building a company called Top Hat. And it was mobile apps in the university classroom to make education more interesting. Thought what they were doing was really interesting. And again, they were like, "Hey, we're looking to expand in the US, but we really needed somebody who can help us raise money." And so I joined them, and it was sort of the first thing to do was like, "Hey, can you help us, pitch the business? Can you help us find some investors? Can you help us clean up the board?" They'd raised less than $1 million and had 13 board members or something at the time. Okay, we got to clean this stuff up. But that was another one of those sort of join a company that was sort of shut out of the venture ecosystem a little bit, and help them go and tell that story and raise that capital and get the access to the funding to grow. Moved back to Toronto with them, spent a few years with them, and then got recruited over by NIMI to do the same thing. And that's sort of where it was the story that we started on, was we were really running out of money, had to raise the round, got it done, but picked a group of investors that we gave up, I think, too much ownership and control, that really sort of took the company in a different direction. That was when, and I had just started dating my partner now, Michelle, who she has a much more, you should have her on the show at some point. She has a much more interesting story than I did, but she's bootstrapped 4 companies, including a caviar fishery. She sold her last company to Groupon in 2014, and then she joined the cast of Dragon's Den, the Canadian version of Shark Tank, and has been investing on that show. And so I came back and was like, "Hey, we had known each other. Well, we'd known each other for a little while. We've been dating for 3 or 4 months at the time. I was like, "Hey, I think I just lost my job. What do I do?" She's like, "Oh, this is great. We're going to start a company together." And it was like, what do we start? Like, what do we start? Do we start a venture fund? Like, the world doesn't need another venture fund, but we really wanted to help entrepreneurs, and we sort of iterated. And she was seeing all these pitches on Dragon's Den that were like, I want to give up ownership. I need $200,000 to grow my business. I'm willing to give up 20, 30, 40% of my company to get that. And it was like, well, what do you need the money for? And it was the same. It was like, I need it for marketing, I need it for sales, I need it for inventory. And like, okay, can we do this in a slightly different way? And that was really what inspired what Clearbanc became.
Interesting.
I think the only person you look boring beside is Michelle Romano is probably a pretty good.
Yeah, that's not that bad, right?
It's not so bad. Yeah. No, that's amazing.
Wow.
So I want to ask you about all these things. I think the fundraising part of it is that, are you comfortable with that? Like getting known for being kind of the guy that, figures out how to make the funds show up or makes, figures out how to.
It's a weird thing. I mean, I wish I was known for like my good looks or my sort of charismatic leadership.
Well, we
like
both hope that too, but
it's a weird thing. It's a weird thing to be known for.
Yeah.
Look, there are people that do this way, way better than I do. I think, my very, very unique set of skills that I developed is the ability to use the fact that we, and this was, pre-COVID, when you would fly to places and raise money, to use the fact that we were from out of town to raise money, right? And be like, hey, we're only in town this week, so if you want to meet us, you should meet us this week, and you should bump all your other meetings to make it happen. And then we'll be back in 2 weeks, but in 2 weeks, we're expecting to get term sheets, and use that, and you sort of do the, Toronto, New York, or Toronto, San Francisco, New York, Boston route, and you sort of do that twice and say hey, this is our process, and then come to, for the people that you really want, say, hey, you should come visit our office, and that people who visit the office and cross the border to do that, especially in January, are probably pretty serious. And so we kind of had a little bit of a playbook, like when we did our Series B at Clearbanc, every single firm that visited the office wrote us a term sheet. One, because it was a much higher bar. I'm sure fewer people visited our office than they would have if we were in San Francisco. But they came to the office and they felt the energy, and they really bought in. They spent they didn't come in for an hour; they came in for a couple of days. And so I think that's the specific set of skills that I've learned in the strategy of home. Trying to adapt that for a remote world for sure, but the idea of sort of being a bit of an outsider and using that to your advantage instead of it being a disadvantage is sort of maybe the calling card that I've developed.
Makes sense. Do you want to tell us about your new venture?
Yeah, so Clearbanc, it's interesting. It was sort of an amalgamation of both Michelle and my previous experiences. I've been through the fundraising gauntlet a handful of times. Michelle had not, and then was on the other side as an investor. And we were kind of like, look, there's all of these entrepreneurs. There's this sort of explosion of in the new economy of online businesses and e-commerce businesses, and not all of them are a good fit for venture. In fact, very, very few of them are a good fit to raise venture. And as a percentage, so yes, there's a huge explosion in the venture capital asset class, the number of companies that are funded and valuations. But as a percentage of businesses that are started, it's a smaller and smaller percentage, right? So there's, I think 25 million e-commerce businesses around the world, and maybe 5,000 of them raise any sort of equity funding. So the goal has been, how do we help more and more of these companies? If there's not going to be venture capital, there may not be exits. A lot of people start companies and they plan to run them forever, right? They plan to hand them down to their children. They don't want to, take it and IPO it. They don't want to sell it to shareholders. They don't want to sell it to an acquirer. So how do you capitalize? How do you fund those types of businesses? And so, we saw, there are debt options, which, add a lot of risk to a business, especially an early stage business, often come with personal guarantees. Michelle had a huge personal guarantee on a credit card at Bytopia, her last business, which is terrifying, right? If your business fails, you lose your personal assets, your house, whatever.
Yeah.
And so, we were like, okay, we don't want to go down the debt route. we don't think we're going to be an equity investor. How do we do things differently? And so we said, okay, if you're spending money on repeatable, scalable parts of your business, customer acquisition, inventory and supply chain, infrastructure, salespeople, things that have a repeatable component and are highly correlated to revenue growth. Can we do this on a revenue shared kind of performance basis where, we'll give you $100,000, we'll take 5% of your sales until we get 106 back. And that product has worked. We funded about 4,000 businesses through that model, $1.6 billion. So it's working. And very, very few of them fail. I think less than 1 or 2% of our businesses ever fail. So we're pretty good at both identifying businesses that have that repeatability in their growth, and then using our data and our scale to help those businesses make better decisions to improve their odds of success.
This is obviously a relatively unique way to fund businesses, I'm assuming, right? Like most, I'm assuming is what you suggest is you come in, I need $100,000. That's great. I'll take 50% of your company. Here's the $100,000. Now you're in a shit spot because, now you're stuck right now. It's all right. Before you know it, you're going to lose your company anyway, right? Someone's going to chew it up. So that's
it. I mean, it's not your company anymore, right?
No.
You have somebody who's telling you.
And for what? For $100,000, which is, a substantive amount of money, but it is not, 100 million.
Right.
It's you've given up a lot for, in essence, in absolute terms, not a lot.
Yeah.
Per se, right? So you guys work it the other way. So you're really working on a revenue. That's complete revenue side. Is that what it?
Yeah, exactly. So there's no ownership, no control. It's just, we get a portion of revenue until we get our money back plus the 6% flat fee. So it's, we try and make it, it's one of these businesses that you can't make a lot of mistakes in. 6% is not a lot of upside.
No, that's not a lot of
but we try and do it with real volume, right? I think the goal is, we need to get dramatic volume to make it make sense, and that's where technology comes in.
So, what are the sizes of the companies that are coming to you? Like, what size of companies are sort of knocking on the door?
Yeah, it's interesting. So we had, what we don't talk about, we just started talking about is we funded 4,000 businesses, and typically it's a business that already has a level of product market fit, has the business model sort of defined, so that $1 in equals more than $1 out over time, right? Typically, it's a business that has made more than $10,000 a month over 6+ months. Our largest companies do hundreds of millions. Our smallest companies do tens of thousands. But so while we funded 4,000, we have said no to like almost 50,000 businesses. Because they didn't have a repeatable, maybe one month they made a few $1,000s, then the next month they didn't.
Right.
And so what we're trying to do, a product we just launched was a product called Clear Angel, which is really starting at companies that are just doing $1,000 or $2,000 in revenue, and to help them get to the point where they are, they've got a repeatable model and they qualify for our marketing and our inventory and our other products. And what we're trying to do there is almost create like a Y Combinator or an accelerator program, but instead of it being a 3-month program, it's a 4-year program where you basically say, look, we'll give you $10,000 to $50,000, depending on what your revenue threshold is, in exchange for 2% of your revenue for 4 years. That's it. So it's, again, we're not taking ownership.
So you're not killing them, right? You're giving them a chance to breathe.
Yeah, it's kind of like what you're paying your payment processor, less than what you're paying your payment processor. And the idea here is we want to just use this data to help you make better decisions. So obviously, like, not all those companies are going to get to the scale that we get our money back out of, but we think that we can help more of them to do that.
It's I love it. Like I just think
it's different, right?
The funny thing is, like, so the number of folks that we see through this show, right? So we get lots of entrepreneurs of all shapes and sizes, but we do see a lot of small entrepreneurs who are making gains but struggle with all these things, right? Is they need the ability, at some point you hit a point when you just can't afford to be a mom and pop shop. You can only extend your personal liability so much. But
you need money.
Yeah, you need that extra,
you're strapped, right?
Scale, right, and grow. I don't know how many. We've never done that math, but I think of our listener or our audience or our speaker base, probably 3/4 of them are stuck at that spot where they could just use, like, if I could get this much, I can
Right.
scale my numbers, and then everything, then the windfalls start to happen, right? And so you're
It's what they have to give up to get.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
which is is a fundamental problem, and that's why VC has such why
It's
probably
tough.
deserve it in a
Yeah,
lot
it's
of
really
ways.
tough.
The
Yeah.
feeling most people have, or many people have about it, is well deserved. They go in, they give you what you asked for, they take what you offered, and you, more times than not, lose it. You've lost your company. I mean, you really have, because
Yeah.
when the call comes, you didn't have a pot to piss in the beginning. You don't have it later either. Like, you're still strapped for money, right? It's a hard spot to be in.
Yeah.
Right. Where you guys, it's almost like you guys are nice people.
Well, I think we're trying to offer a few more options, right? Because I think with the VC route, it's a great look. If you need to hire 50 rocket scientists to go to Mars, right?
Yeah.
Or 500, right?
Different.
Like, that's, you're like, if you're placing a big bet and you're investing heavily in R&D and it's not proven, it's equity like risk. An investor who writes that check deserves a lot of
absolutely
upside, right?
Absolutely.
Like, yeah. And so I think, I'm a huge fan of venture capital because it moves humanity forward, right? It solves,
100%.
Invests in technologies that cure diseases and make people, better, like, and be happier and more efficient and all, like, but you're really investing in R&D and technical risk. I think there's just a component of how people's budget that they probably don't need to give up equity for, and that's really
exactly
looking to service. The other thing we're trying to do is say, like, look, there's a lot that people will go to a VC for more than just capital, right? You're going for advice. You're going to open up access to a network,
right?
And so we challenge. I mean, this is actually a brainstorm with Kent and I and Charlie and one of our other co-founders, where we talked about, like, what would it take for us to productize some of that, right? Could we actually productize a network? We know a lot of people. There's a lot of people that want to talk to Clearbanc. Can we say, look, we're not going to waste your time. You need to improve your supply chain, talk to this partner, right? You need to improve your marketing conversions. Here's an agency that could help you. Or some sort of advice around, like, hey, you think you're doing well, but actually your category is on fire. And so, you should be doing these 3 things.
Right.
You should be selling on these new channels. You should be advertising on these new channels. So that's sort of the next phase. And this is, again, what Clear Angel is all about, is, can we productize not just the capital, but, like, what to do with it next? Like, what are the next steps? Can we give you a to-do list? Can we actually give you, like, a,
Really?
set of,
I think that's a wonderful idea.
Yeah.
Here's a set of resources that we can help provide to you to get you going.
So okay, wait. Before they get there, though, how do you qualify? Because you've turned down.
We turned down folks, 10 right? times that you've accepted.
How do you if I'm in this Commerce Life audience and I'm listening to this, and I think I gotta go. Like, I gotta go find Andrew and figure out Andrew, and then I gotta find this Kent guy and figure out.
Yeah, that's it.
How do you qualify? Like, what are the criteria? Some stuff like that.
So that's, I mean, this is where, like, if you're listening, like, the best entry point really is Clear Angel, because the reason we launched it is because we don't want to say no to 90% of the people who come in the door, and so it is really like, do you have an online business that we think we can help? That's kind of all the criteria, right? I think it's probably like, have you made $1,000 or $2,000 in the business? And so, can people buy your product online? Can you fulfill the orders? It's kind of like what we're looking for, is like, do you have the semblance of something that we could work with? Do you know how to buy ads? Do you know how to source your product? Do you know how to, have you set up your process, your payment processor, or your e-commerce store? Yeah. So once you've got something that, once you've got a business that can, we can plug into, and we can measure, and we can help grow, like, we want to fund it. Like, we're funding, I think we funded 100 companies this month. Our goal is to get to 1,000 companies a month pretty quickly, and so the goal is really to, like, do this at massive scale. And yeah.
Wow.
Kenny, we need to build a business.
So
yeah,
no shit.
Yeah.
Instead of sitting in the afternoons just shooting the shit a little bit, I mean, you should do something, Phil.
Exactly.
Jeez. Like Andrew and Kent, do something for crying out loud.
No, seriously.
So what would you?
Yeah.
What would you? So I guess what is? So people will figure out. Okay, they'll know. Oh my God, I'm doing $5,000 a month. I got to phone Andrew. But to phone Andrew is not probably the smartest move until you put some stuff. Like, what would you tell them to come prepared with? Outside of just saying I do $5,000 a month or I made $5,000, like what do you want from me? Like what do you want me to come with so that I've got a really good chance of getting a stamp and saying
so we're trying
with it.
We're trying to take away the whole like prepare a pitch deck and your story and your like all like like that's so stressful for founders.
That's brutal,
and it's not very good signal for an investor, right? So we on Clear Angel we basically we laid out like a type form questionnaire, goes into a lot of details about like, what do you know about your business? Where is it? What stage is it at? Why did you start it? I mean, it's pretty in-depth, but it's pretty structured. So you kind of go on there, answer the questions, and then we'll reach out. And like, it's basically like, it's not like some mystical black box. It's not, I mean, look, the fortunate thing is we've proven that we can do this. And so it's not like we can only get to invest in the 50 best companies we meet, right? Like we get to invest in every single company that meets the criteria that we think we can help. It's effectively like, if we think we can help you, we will fund you. And it's a different paradigm. Like what we really want to do is take kind of like an abundance paradigm to venture, right? So like traditionally there's been a bit of a scarcity paradigm of like, I only have so many boards I can sit on. I only have so many investments. My fund is only a certain size. Like we want to shift that to be much more of an abundance paradigm where it's like, look, there's more than enough capital to go around. The bottleneck is really the people. Like it's like people doling out the money and deciding.
Right.
And if we can remove that bottleneck by using technology, then the capital can flow to the founders that need it. And so that's the idea.
Wow. And then so I call Andrew. We'll put all the links in so you don't.
Yep. 100%. You might have people phoning you left, right, and center, but that's okay.
Andrew.
I filled it in already.
Awesome. Kent's going to call you. I'll just forward my.
You forward to Kent.
Forward to Kent. That's the best.
That's even better.
So once, let's say they get through the process, they fill in the type form. You guys look at these guys and say, yeah, you're in. We're gonna help fund you. What's kind of the process like? So how often do they report to you? Because a lot of these guys are going to be, sole proprietors, right? Like they're kind of used to building it in their kitchen, hiding their mistakes in their garage. They don't really report to anybody besides their bank statement. So like, how do they get used to interacting with you? How much interaction is there?
Yeah, I mean, it's the program is really like you get out of it what you put into it, right? And so we set them up. We if they're not incorporated, we get them incorporated. We get them plugged into all the systems. The nice thing is like we don't need you to write a board report or quarterly report. We're plugged into all of your systems, right? We're plugged into your ad platforms. We're plugged into your e-commerce platform, your processor, all of that stuff. So like we know how things are going. Like you don't need to. Often we're reporting back to you. We're like, hey, did you know like your return on ad spend is declining? Like you should look at that, right? Yeah. And then it's, we basically give you like a real-time dashboard and a set of to-do lists. It's like, look, here's the next 3 things you should do. Let us know when you've done them. We'll give you more. And it's kind of like an ongoing fluid process. There's an onboarding process with one of our partners here. And then it's like, look, we're going to continue to give you support. And as your business grows and gets more complex, we'll give you more and more it's almost like a video game. It's kind of like, look, here's the tougher and tougher challenge.
Leveling up.
Right? Next level.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's the idea, right? Is like, can we just continue to level you up as a founder and as a business?
It's clever in so many ways, right? Because in a lot of ways, these guys need that too, because they don't know what metrics they're supposed to be looking at. They don't know, where they're supposed to be looking. They do plug things in because everyone tells them to plug things in. And
Right.
then, so yeah, it's almost like you're funding them and teaching them to grow in a lot of ways, which is pretty amazing.
Which is the interesting part, because a lot of times, you give, it's like to anything, you give someone money, just because you gave some money doesn't mean you got them out of a money problem.
Right.
You might have put them into a bigger ditch than they were 10 minutes ago, because they don't know what the hell they're doing half the time, or they got nobody following up and saying, that's great, but your money's not doing this or whatever it is you want to do.
It's like, hey, what do you do with, now you've got the money, what do you do? Right.
Exactly.
And that's really our goal, is like, hey, we want to be a partner, right? It's not just like, hey, here's some money, good luck. It's much more about like, how do we help you? And how do we help you be, the goal is just like, can we kind of put our thumb on the scale for your success, right? Can we help you be more successful than you would have without us? And that's sort of the mission.
So how are you managing this part of it, where you're saying, hey, here's your 3 to-do lists, et cetera. You're funding 4,000 companies. Like, how many people do you have? Like, how many people can you possibly have to help, 3 to-do lists for 4,000 individuals? That's a lot. That's a big to-do list, eh?
Just Kent.
I know Kent. Kent doesn't sleep and doesn't see his family. I understand that, but we got to be a little nicer to Kent too, right? So I hope we got Kent plus somebody.
Yeah. So we've almost 300 people. I think it's 270 something people.
Wow.
I think. But it's only like 8 people working on Clear Angel, right? So it is it's a lean team. So we have to use technology to scale. And so this is where it's like, look, if your business looks like this, and we use a lot of machine learning, and it's like, look, here's the to-do list, and there's some manual heavy lifting to make sure that those to-dos make sense for that business. But once we've helped 5 pet food companies, the 6th one probably has a similar set of to-dos.
Similar issues, right?
And so and this is one of the biggest things, right? Like, there's a huge amount of information asymmetry in these businesses, and that's what we're trying to get across. Like, if you knew a founder who had built the same business as you 2 years before you, like, you wouldn't have a problem. You'd learn from all their mistakes. You just shortcut all the things that they did well. And but most people don't have that. And so can we just shine a bit of a light and remove that information asymmetry?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah, so very interesting. It's
definitely not a normal model. I mean, you guys actually,
awesome.
It's fantastic. I mean, it's just, it's just strange to hear.
So many businesses need this,
it's
right?
not,
We see it all the time. We see like super cool businesses that come through, and then you think, poor guy, like you're gonna hit that ceiling.
Yeah,
and
when
then
you hit the ceiling, and it's not a glass ceiling, it's made out of concrete. You're not going anywhere, buddy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you don't go to the right people, you're actually going to go backwards, because you're going to just lose it all. Like, it's inevitable, right? Because you won't see it coming. That's an interesting way to do it, though. That's impressive.
So you've just launched this, and then do you have any goals in mind? Like, are there X number of companies you want to be able to fund in the next year or so? Do you want to kind of like own the Canadian landscape? We're basically going to own all of retail.
Yeah, we're global. So we started in the US. We're operating in 5 countries now. So the goal is really to do this globally. We want to put out at least $100 million to 5,000 companies by the end of 2022. I think we'll probably hit that goal sooner, to be honest. But the idea is, like, every founder in the world that's got a business that we think we can help, we want to partner with.
So right now it's mostly funding. So this other aspect you're talking about prior, about having, so you've got 2 resource pools. You've got a resource pool of true capital, cash, and then you got this resource pool of human resource that they're allowed to tap into. So have you started developing that side of it, or is that still conceptual, or is that running full tilt as well?
That's live. Yeah. So it's, you have a dashboard. Like you interact mostly with the people through the dashboard, right? And so we have people sort of behind the scenes, and that's how we get a little bit of leverage on our people, is like, they're like, hey, I just added 3 to-dos for you, go check it out. So if we had to do sort of hour-long phone calls with each founder once a week, it wouldn't scale. But if we can do that using a bit of technology to make that scale, then it can work really well. And so that's sort of the next phase is really starting to give people a bit of that here are the next things to do with your business, and here's how you scale, and then it's the network, and it's, again, you can do that kind of programmatically, right? You're sort of like, look, you should go talk to Phil for marketing, right? And because he's done a good job with 3 other companies that look like yours. And instead of Googling it and talking to every marketing, consultant that, has SEO, it's like, look, here's somebody who we've seen, like, you have this problem, right? You have a ad optimization problem, or you have a website conversion problem. We have seen, when we introduced this, marketer to companies that had the same problem, the problem went away. Like, we can see that empirically with data. And so we know that it works. And so it helps us hold, our partner ecosystem accountable. So we're like, look, if you're not continuing to deliver value for, the founders that we introduce you to, we will stop introducing you to people.
See you later.
And it cuts out, again, it's this information asymmetry, right? You got all these founders that are like, dude, okay, great. You told me to go hire an agency. Where do I even start? Right.
Yeah. Like, who do I hire? Why do I hire? What am I asking them?
Exactly.
Okay.
And so the goal here is, like, can we do this very, very curated and very specific and tailored to a specific business, and that's sort of the next objective.
Wow, so
that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
Any super cool interests, like super cool like brands that you can share here, or is that?
Oh yeah, I mean, there's so many great brands. One of my favorites, Switch Groceries, great Canadian brand. She's been part of the ecosystem and part of the portfolio for a while, and Neha is like an awesome, and she's used sort of all of the advice and everything, and all the accountability stuff that we've introduced, and again, sort of started at least as a one woman show, running this online e-commerce store for keto food, and has really started to scale it. It's been awesome to watch. We had a military veteran that was building a murder mystery box in Baltimore, and nobody was like, who is this guy? How did he do this? He ended up building like a multi-million-dollar business over time. Hunt a Killer, yeah, it's awesome. So yeah, there's been some great founders, great businesses that I love spending time with and chatting with.
Very cool. Very cool.
That's so awesome. If you or Kent ever want to send any of those brands on the show.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Love to talk to people.
Sure. We're happy to have them on. I mean, the success stories are amazing.
Yeah, what the hell, right? And it gives listeners a chance to say, okay, well, that guy sounds like my business. I think so. If they did it, because sometimes it is, they'll hear it, but it sounds either too good to be true, or, oh, geez, I don't know how to do that. Like, I don't even know how to approach this. Like, I don't know what the hell they want. People get scared, right? I mean, you're comfortable with what you know.
Yeah, totally. And we're trying to be just as approachable as we can.
Yeah. Well, they can't see you, right? Like, because we're an audio only podcast.
Right.
If they could see you, they'd be like, this Andrew guy. We can call him.
We can relate to him. Like, he's kind of cool. Like, this will work, but they can't see you, so they got nothing.
No, the voice just sounds very intimidating. I can appreciate that.
This is you know what? This has been really awesome. We're so excited to have you on.
Yeah, this is interesting. Yeah,
I love this program. I think it's going to help a million businesses.
Yeah, me too.
And, we hope. I hope we help spread the message, and then we'd love the approach. So, as the year goes, and you've got some new news or whatever, or honestly, if you've got brands that you think would be amazing on the show,
I'd love to hear them.
Throw them our way. We'll make sure we get them on and talk about their story and their story with you guys as well. I think that would be really
that would be awesome. You guys are very easy to talk to. This is a super fun conversation. But it's I've done a few podcasts, and it's always, sometimes they're a little like cardboard stiff, Okay. No, this is great. And so, I'd love to come back on. I think that's a great idea. We'd love to send you guys some of our companies and brands and hear their story. I mean, their stories are are pretty.
It's just cool, right? You
Yeah.
need some inspiration these days. It's been
Yeah.
an ugly year. It really has.
Yeah.
And you know what? For a lot of people, it's not going to get any better. I don't think people have really started feeling the pain yet. So it's
No,
going to be
exactly.
interesting. So any happy, positive stories where we can show people that you can still do stuff. You
Yep.
may have to think of it a little different way. Try some different things, right? I think it's just
Yeah.
cool. I think what you guys are, I like your guys' approach. It's nice. I mean, when you go with a different attitude of more to help, want you to succeed. Yeah, I still want to make my money. Still want to, it's a business, but I'm not a charity.
Yeah.
But when the attitude is just that little tweak, it's just nice, right? It's nice to hear. I think what you guys are doing is very cool. Very cool.
The other half, I think the other part I was thinking about before we finish is your kind of existing folks that you tap for experts. I've had the privilege. So Kent has, connected me with a couple of brands along the way that I've had the privilege to talk to. In a couple of cases, they didn't fit with me, but I was able to help them, kind of find somebody in my network that would fit with them. Is there, are there either expert, because we do have a lot of folks that listen to us that are also from CPG world, so that kind of idea of connecting to a retailer, because that's one of the most difficult things I think for little brands is what the hell is this Walmart language and how the hell do I speak it? So, are there folks that you are looking for to expand out to the network? Again, not trying to give them a line to you or to Kent.
Kent. All goes to Kent. Send everybody to Kent.
Yeah. Is there any expertise that you're looking for that we can also kind of spread out to the, to listeners that, you guys are looking for that expertise?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, we're always looking for marketers to help. We have a whole partner program as well. So we're always looking for marketers to help. We're looking for supply chain experts is one of the biggest things. I think early stage founders then trying to figure out how to scale their supply chain, how to get their margins right. People that can help them negotiate that stuff, look at their BOM, look at all of that stuff. So that's one of the things that that we were increasingly finding demand for. And then the wholesale component of it too. How do you just navigate that and where do you go? And so we're starting to partner with people that are in that ecosystem too. But that'd be awesome.
Okay. So we'll add your links to the podcast notes, and then we'll put that out as part of the podcast, so folks know how to find you guys, and reach out.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for joining us. This is fantastic.
That's very cool. I'm really impressed. I love what you're doing too.
Very much appreciate it. It was great to meet you guys, and look forward to continuing more conversations.
That'd be awesome. Anytime, man. That's very cool.
Yeah,
fantastic.
Good job. Good on you, man.
Right.
Thanks, Andrew.
Appreciate it. All right,
Andrew, take it easy. Have a nice afternoon or evening.
Bye.
Take care, man.
Bye.
Okay, Phil. That's
dude. That's
a different way to provide funding to people. That didn't feel icky or feel like you needed to have 14 showers after it. Wow.
No. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very neat. Neat approach.
And very it is, this is exactly what, a lot of these guys need, right? I think of, you think of, just from our episodes, right? Like Treat Smarts could probably use.
Oh my God. I was thinking the same thing. Absolutely. Simmer could use some people like this easily. Right, there's even some of the larger ones that may want it, that would be able to consider. But I think it's such a great thing for those type of people. I'm thinking our Newfoundland chocolate folks. Can't remember her name.
Yeah, Sarah Brazier or Sarah.
Sorry. You know what it is? It's COVID brain.
Yeah.
Like I remember parts of things. I can't remember everything anymore.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's so many places like that wouldn't put him into a position where you'd be looking and thinking, okay, April's 1st tomorrow. Yeah, they should lose the business by about the 3rd of March of next year. You know what I mean? Like you're not trying to do that where you're setting up, saying, listen, you know what? This is a much less offensive way to do it. You're tapping into a whole cool set of resources because these guys actually want to see this work.
Yeah,
they're not interested in taking you over. They want you to do. If you make revenue, they get paid. They're happy. Let's go. Giddy up,
Yeah.
man. Like no fooling around here, right?
Yeah, I know. It's pretty cool. So it's
It's
I-
interesting. It's a
I
cool
think
model.
really
It's
interesting.
different.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I've never. I don't know any who do it that way. I mean, I haven't heard of it. I mean, I know people who lend money, and they're not lending money for equity. You know.
Yeah.
I know people like that. I know a few people
Yeah.
like that who really you should never take the money from them because it's a whole different world of ick. But that's okay. Well, I mean, what it is, right? Sometimes you need cash, you need cash.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it just I don't
Do
know.
it.
That didn't feel that felt actually really good.
No,
You know what I
it was
mean?
cool. It
Yeah.
was pretty cool. Yeah. It's awesome.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting fellow. Nice guy.
Yeah.